And we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt, the Major League Rugby podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Corey Musson, coming to you live from Iowa, joined as always by Aaron Castro in Arizona and Liam Madigan-Freed back in Boston for a few days. How's it going, guys?
It's going good. I actually walked at graduation this past Friday, so now I'm officially graduated with a degree in English. So that's all done.
You know how to speak good then, huh?
Oh, me speak very good.
So what's up with this Mormon? What's up with your Mormon? You're not Mormon, but your Amish beard.
This is, I tell everybody that it's a style, but this is just pure laziness. Not gonna lie, it's. Also, I'm staying right now at Grant Cole's house down in Houston before I get my own place.
I'm more worried about your inability to grow a mustache.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I don't want to commit to filling up somebody's sink full of hair at this point. So now I guess I just gotta cut it now that I'm back home.
Oh man. Or you just look like a billy goat.
Well, without it, I look like I'm 17, and people question my ID at bars too. I can't have that.
Well, these days I kind of appreciate. I'm sure Corey appreciates when he gets carded too.
Absolutely.
Grandpa. Who
the fuck is carding you guys, dude? All right.
So this gets dumb. So, we've been off the air for a couple weeks. So my sister had her birthday. She's like 26, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm almost 30. What am I gonna do?" And I'm like, "I'm 30. You're not almost 30. Calm the F down. Jeez. Chill out. You'll be okay."
You young whippersnappers just don't understand. You just don't get it. You think you're so old. Think that's something special being 30? My God, I remember the 30s. It was 1990. Okay, that's an overstatement, but still, it seems like a long time ago, man.
I was about to say, how old are you?
65, damn it.
This is we need to figure out how we can, not memes, but bring in clips. So we need to pull up the Mike Gundy clip for screen share, and where he's like, "Oh man, I'm 40." That's Corey.
Oh golly.
So we're
Well,
why are we here?
Yeah, well, I was going to say something about rugby or something. I don't know. Okay, well, I've got some words here. Maybe this will answer it. According to this, for those new to the podcast, each Monday night we discuss news, rumors, and all the fun stuff out of Major League Rugby each week. That's the United States Professional Rugby Union. It's a chance for us to discuss the issues, hear from the league, players, and team leadership, and check in with our friends from across the U.S. rugby scene. So that's who we are. And Aaron, I think you're about to tell us what we got coming up this week.
All right. Some preseason action. Running. New York played Capital Selects. New Orleans, we'll talk about their preseason. They've played 2 matches, one versus USA South and the other versus Stars Rugby 15s. Stars Rugby usually doesn't do 15s. They're a sevens group, but tour, but they like to put on these 15s tours to get some of the big uglies up front around the country noticed, especially with MLR. It might become more pervasive, actually. And then Scott Lawrence has been appointed head coach of Atlanta MLR. We'll talk about that. Transactions, and then a gripe about rosters. So, without further ado.
We got a lot then. See, it's amazing what happens when you take a week off. Yeah. So let's kick things off with some news out of New York. So Rooney hosted the Capital Selects, and I guess it's a bad sign when they actually stop keeping score at some point because it's so lopsided. At the point Rooney crossed the century mark, they kind of stopped counting, and so we're not exactly sure how bad they beat the Capital Selects, but It was at least 100-0. So, yeah, guys, what did you see out of this one?
Well,
I saw nothing because
there was no stream
it. So there you go.
What did we read, however? So,
well, they didn't even live tweet it, so yeah.
So I mean, I guess pretty much what we can say though is that it was definitely to be expected that Rooney at this point, they're so close to their first official MLR season. Their roster, as we've been saying, should be at a point where they're going to be running over clubs like this. But 100+0 against a team of some of the best that the Mid Atlantic Conference has to offer. That's just a crazy score. So I guess Rooney is trying to. I guess they were eager to have a game that they could actually brag about rather than just, a minor 3-point victory over Boston that they thought they were going to beat up on. So, definitely good for Rooney in getting this victory.
I mean, this is interesting, partially because of how NOLA played against them last season, but we'll get into that for the next segment. But, Capital, as far as their selects and high-performance program is concerned and getting, guys' game tape out there, they have the Capital selects have been running out for a long time. They have a lot of good coaches, and I'm sure some of their athletes kind of showed out, but as a team, they're less than what they were last year, or they're the same and they've gotten a little bit better. But as I said last season with some of these preseason games, if you're a professional team, you should be beating them comfortably. Last year it should have been like 30 points. This year it should be 50, 60. Oh, in this case, 100+ points because, the salary cap is higher, systems in place, more practice time, more investment in analysis, recovery, all that stuff. So that's what you should see from this. But I think we wonder, how many of these guys will join DCMLR? I don't know.
Well, like I said, it's some of the top names coming out of the Mid-Atlantic region. So in terms of local talent, there's definitely going to be at least some crossover between DCMLR and the Capital Selects. Obviously nothing's for certain, except for the head coach of DCMLR, which we're gonna talk about later in the podcast. But yeah, no, I would. Oh, Atlanta, yeah. However, DC, there was talk about they did hire a coach, did they not?
No, they are in the process, I think, of hiring a interim coach for they're going to run an exhibition season at some point. That was the last I heard when I spoke with Chris Dunlavy, president of DCMLR, but he's not been appointed yet. So,
well, like I said, there's definitely going to be some crossover in terms of local talent.
So, moving on to New Orleans. What do we got?
Yeah, well, down south, things are looking pretty good for them as well. 2 exhibition matches the last couple of weekends. They started out December 8th facing off against USA South. That was a 45-10 match. That was definitely the closer of the two, if you could call either of them close. And then on December 15th, they faced off the Stars Rugby 15s. And similar to Rooney's score line, they took out Stars 113-0. So 2 pretty good outings for NOLA here in the exhibition portion of the season.
So the first one, it's important to note, I would say the level of USA South is higher than Capital Rugby for a few reasons. They compete in test rugby for Tier 3 countries. So they represent the United States as members of Rugby Americas North. They compete in the Rugby Americas North Championships facing off against Tier 3 countries. They're currently the back-to-back RAN champions, and they just went on a European tour against Austria, Hungary, and Czech Republic. And I think they went undefeated, or it was a 2-1. So that's the level of USA South. But again, professionals over amateurs 45-10 in the pouring rain. Talk about an equalizer. There were puddles everywhere.
Yeah. Like you said, definitely what we should be expecting, especially going into the sophomore season of the league. You've had time to institute a system among the players and kind of get them used to playing with one another, along with some of the new recruits, getting them used to playing with, some of the veterans. So, yeah, definitely the kind of result that you would expect, especially given the weather conditions.
But the game that was on this weekend was NOLA versus Stars 15, and if I had sent an email to our writer, Josh, I don't know what you'd write about this other than Malcolm May scored, Holden Youngert scored, Cam Falcon scored, Ben Tarr scored, stuff like that, because it was just boom, boom, boom. It was 64-0 at the half. And they started scoring a little slower in the second half, and I was like, oh, come on, get me a century. And they got the century, and then they got some. I think there were a few guys for Stars that looked pretty good. JP Aguirre, the scrum half out of Lindenwood, I think. He played as decently as he could with those around him, with a professional pack of meat eaters in NOLA trying to take his lunch and put give him a wedgie and put his underwear over his head. Like that's how bad they beat him up. So for NOLA, I think when you look at these games, I think it's about wanting to know where the quality level of Major League Rugby is going. But I think at the end of the day, you shouldn't have these fixtures in Season 3 because you're not going to get much from them if you're going to beat every single opponent over 100 points to 0. And hopefully you get out of these games unscathed. And as I said to Ryan Fitzgerald, because we did talk a little bit after the game, and I was like, this is where you guys are. This is where you should be. To where a touring side, which puts together a roster of good athletes that are in good environments, but doesn't practice together all the time, is where you just, take the sledgehammer and drive the stake and hammer them into the ground.
Yeah, and honestly, what these MLR matches have really kind of told us, other than who can beat up who by the most points between Rooney and NOLA, is pretty much who's healthy. We've seen we've seen a few people make their way back onto the field, particularly Sam Windsor played against Dallas just the other week down in Houston, so that's definitely a really good sign for the SaberCats. Other than that, though, these games are really just meant sort of kind of as a warm up, making sure that people are kind of shaking the rust off, as well as giving an opportunity for potential academy players and fringe roster players a chance to shine in front of the coaches before final cuts are made. Especially when positions, coaches right now, they're evaluating how much they need at each position group to make it through a season. And I guess these games are really kind of a prime opportunity to see that is who's worth keeping and developing. At where on the bench.
And just from a fan perspective, a quick shout out to GIF for putting on the match this weekend. He had 3 matches over the course of 6 hours there. I guess he was out in New Orleans filming and hosting and doing all that good stuff. So if you want to go back and check that out on Facebook, Gift Time Rugby. It's available right now. You can go watch the game.
I guess what did we learn? Because we got something on the side. Josh, you're bad. I don't think we had a discussion about you putting up an article about that game, and that would have been painful because yeah. But what did we learn from these games? As far as, we covered most of that, but NOLA Gold Academy,
looking good.
Looking good. at the high school level. U19s went out and played a touring side in Stars U19s, and this is where I think Liz Entwistle really cuts her teeth. Is not really that much with the senior players, but it more with the junior players and what she's been able to do with when it comes to putting together U19 7 sides and getting those guys opportunities on film so that they can go to college and show out. And I think those kids had like the U19s, like I've been talking about, hey, investment in the academy, get it done.
Definitely. And I've seen some of the some similar good things happening down in Houston with academy players, particularly people like Enrique Montano and Darrell Williams right now at the SaberCat Academy camp. They're really impressing both with the West Houston Lions and in these exhibition matches recently against Austin and Dallas. So again, like that I reiterate that these games are really about like taking a look at what can be the future of these teams, how are they developing players, as well as to shake off the rust, for some of the veteran players who can just go out and score points, get their confidence up as well.
Sounds like it was a good time all the way around. So I know the little bit of the NOLA Gold match that I was able to catch. It was really enjoyable. It was great to see him back in action. So moving on from that, I guess we've got some happenings in Atlanta. So Atlanta, which has been pretty quiet, maybe the last month and a half or so, announced a head coach in Scott Lawrence. What do we know about this guy?
Well, so this was kind of rumored a couple months ago, but nice to see the deal got done about 2 weeks ago. You have all these players and coaches agree to terms in principle, but it's not done until the fat lady sings, or in this case, the man puts his signature on the dotted line. When it comes to Scott, if anyone's met Scott, he's a really awesome dude, and he lifts like a brick shit house. He's in shape. Put it that way. He can play tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. He's an Eagle flanker. When it comes to covetable head coaches, I think domestically he's probably at the top of the list. He's the top 1 or 2 American rugby minds in the country. And this was sort of the next step for him. He's been on the Eagle staff for a while now. He previously left Life to work full-time at Oracle, and he's continued to spend his free time though on his own personal coach development. He's served with Mitchell and Coach Gold as their defense coach the last 2 cycles for the USA Selects. He's been the head coach during the America Pacific Challenge. He's hit every rung on the ladder when it comes to an American in the Eagles system.
And when it comes to a coach like that, what you really hope is that when he moves into the professional ranks of MLR and he's around players who the Eagles are hoping to potentially make roster moves with, he's going to be a voice and an opinion that they definitely trust, not only to give them the best sort of scouting reports on players at DC MLR or Atlanta MLR. God, it's late here on the East Coast. But not only to give the best kind of scouting reports, but to make sure that they're kind of in tune with the system that the Eagles are going to be playing, because coming out of that coaching ranks, it's definitely more than likely it's going to be a similar sort of system on the field that he's going to be playing. And and like you mentioned, he's coming out of Life U, where he helped them to a D1A championship. And so he knows how to play winning rugby. So hopefully that's going to get the culture started down there.
And then was part of the staff is Naiseh Malifa as the backs coach. Naiseh Malifa has, he's an older name when it comes to the Eagles. So I hope some of our the diehards that have been following the Eagles a long time will know who he is. But he was in 2 different World Cup squads under 2 different head coaches. So he's He's been with the Eagles a long time, and you know what's the connection here? He's coached with Tiger Rugby the past couple of years, so he's developed a lot of guys through that academy and touring system. And you know, James Walker of Tiger Rugby is the director of rugby for Atlanta. So you know, bringing one of your own guys in shows you what's going on. And so I think so far the hands are going like. When they do this combine in January, they'll start plucking out some gems.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So another thing we wanted to hit on was the status of rosters coming into Christmas and early part of January. We don't have a lot of them out there yet. So I don't know if you guys can kind of run down which MLR teams have rosters, which ones don't, and what you'd like to see from the teams here coming up in the next few weeks.
Something in a usable format. As far as like announcements is concerned, there's one team that's been silent, and that's been Utah. I don't know why, because they're teasing us all on Instagram. I saw like 10 people on a rower this morning. So they're in camp, they're doing stuff. They were taking team photos, so maybe they'll put this roster out. But I really, for everyone that's not been doing the announcements of every signee, like New Orleans or Austin or Houston, come on guys, just announce the old players. I got it. If they're staying with the team, just put out a press release that shows all the guys that are staying. But all the new guys, announce them all. Get hype. Let's do it. But San Diego's roster is now out. But more so, can you publish the rosters in a usable format? That too hard?
Yeah, it would definitely go a long way too in terms of marketability for fans, just because they definitely want to know who the hell they're rooting for, and going online and finding a roster is the easiest way to do that. So I would hope that the league would put more priority into making sure that teams are, you know, being kind of open about who it is that's on their field and in training camp at any given time.
Well, and I think, you know, one of the things we hit on last year a while ago was this idea of not only building excitement for teams and for the league, but also for individual players. You know, every sport needs stars as well. And if we don't know who's going where or what's going on week to week or month to month, it's hard to track with your favorite players from last season and really feel like you have a connection with them. So I would list that as a concern as well. But we do.
One of the things that I enjoyed that really only one team did last year, I would say effectively, was the Seawolves. And every time they had injury cover and they signed a new player, they announced it. They gave that player like the spotlight. Whereas I think I beat up Polar Bear for this last year with San Diego. Is they had a guy just show up for the semifinals. Like all of us, like, what's this guy doing on your roster? It was fullback Joe Pietersen. Like he was good, and he's back on that roster again. Like they have a legit game-changing fullback that has a boot too. So
I'd have to go back. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I'd have to go back and check my 2018 roster lists. But if I'm recalling, San Diego was the outfit that had the most names out of any of the teams throughout the season.
I mean, Josh is really good for this. So they rostered, so put on their website 52 players. And they used 45. Utah had 45, but they actually used a lot less. And we'll track that again this season. It'll be interesting to look at, especially since the season's a lot longer. And one of the things we pointed out, I think the Newport Gwent, I don't think they're called the Newport Gwent Dragons anymore. They're just called the Dragons. They had a squad of 62 people last year. And they played more games. So we will see how this hopefully, injuries do not become a thing this year like they did last year. And, we keep these squads together.
Absolutely. So part of that is announcing the stuff we do know, and so we got transactions. What's the signings this week, guys?
Liam, you can hit all those, but I'm gonna.
Mm-hmm.
So I formatted this so that it was easier to do, but I'm just gonna read off all the San Diego ones after Liam just destroys the 20 he's gonna read out.
Oh God, yeah. Thanks for throwing this at me. So apologies to anybody's name who I get wrong. You know, obviously you made it into the MLR, so that's something to be proud of. First of all, we got going to Seattle, a 24-year-old Cap Canadian prop. Did Justice Sears Duru. You know, he appeared in all 4 Rugby World Cup games with Canada the last go around, and he seems to be a really good ad for Seattle. He previously played with Toronto in the exhibition season, but it looks like he chose rather to head to the West Coast. Second, a tight head prop. We have Juan Echevarria going to Austin. He has 43 caps with Uruguay. So he's definitely bringing some really good professional experience over there to the Lone Star State, just north of where I'm at in Houston. Victor Comtat, a lot coming to Houston, 6'8". This dude is huge, and he's definitely the kind of scrum guy that Fitzy likes to see in there on his roster. He has some experience playing with in France. He was a high school all-star. This dude is definitely a really good ad. Paddy Ryan, a prop going to Rooney. He appeared with the Eagles against Ireland along with with another international cap. He's a really good scrum addition. And finally, I have Chris Matina going to Rooney as well. He's a great sevens player. He also helped Nyack to a 2016 club championship appearance against the Huns, but they ultimately lost. However, he was definitely a major player in making that game so competitive. Aaron, what do you got?
Well, Victor Comtat was selected to 4 or 5 teams of the week in MLR for Austin last year.
Yeah.
I don't know why they let him go, but it is what it is. I am surprised there. But Dion Mikesell has been signed by New Orleans Gold. But first, he's taking a short trip to Association Sportive Montferrand Academy en Clermont, Auvergne, France. So he's hanging out in the Clermont Academy, learning, and he'll be. I think in a couple weeks he's good to go to play in the Espoir League. So they have an academy league that they call Espoir. I think young sporting. I don't know what that word means, but it means something. So he's going to play in the Espoir League, and if he shows out there, and I'm guessing that Clermont will want him back. So if he shows out in the academy, and then I'm sure he will show out for the Gold. Oh, man. If anyone follows football recruiting, Dion Mikesell's numbers when it comes to the Nike Spark code, which is 40-yard dash, shuttle, squat, bench, all the BS, his numbers are insane. So when it comes to the level of athlete he is, he's pretty good. As a rugby player, he's pretty freaking good. So that will definitely help shore up the wing for NOLA when he arrives. Sebastian Kalm has moved from NOLA to Austin, and this is a funky one because I think everyone had him moving to New York. So, it is what it is. Man, if New York had gotten both Sebastian and Cam Dolan, that would have been an interesting backline. But moves to the Lone Star State and hanging out in Austin, keeping it weird. And then Rikus Zwart, which is another back row player from formerly of the Chelsea Sharks now in Super Rugby. So that is that's a good one to add as well. He's a major line out threat. And here's the 35 players that San Diego announced today. All right, so scrum half, Tai Nosa, former USA Eagle. Liam Hallam Eames from New Zealand. He's a lock, so we're showing up that lock position. Dean Muir, hooker. Capelli Pifoletti, which is Faka O.C. Pifoletti's brother, who was also in the Saracens Academy. He's a hooker, so you got 2 hookers coming in, so they've got 4 hookers on the roster. Jeez. Paddy Ryan, the Australian one, not the Chicagoan that plays for New York. Lou Stanfield goes from, I guess, he signed late for Austin last year, and he'll be playing with San Diego, another USA Eagle. He'll help build that culture down there. And then Wing Savanaka Totovosu Sau. Man, I'm going to butcher that. And a wing from East Tigers in the Shoot Shield. And then Jasa Vermalua. There we go. A Fijian winger. He's 6'5". You might be able to make him a back rower. I don't know. Actually, he's not. He's going to be a huge winger. It's going to be great. Sam Wuching, flanker, USA Eagle, and Kenny Nazakek from the Shore, from Belmont Shore, number 8, all-around back rower. If anyone was able to watch the PRP last year, he is a physical force. I am surprised they didn't pull him in last year either. So there you go.
Is that, I mean, that's you don't have a few more or anything? I mean, no. Since we've got an extra minute, I guess I'll just ask this. And Aaron, maybe you can address this. How many of these moves are being dictated by the league at this point, as opposed to the teams themselves making the decisions on players?
As far as I know, I mean, I would have to ask this question. I mean, I sort of can't ask this question. None of these moves are dictated by the league at all. These are, and we're going to see this. I think you're going to see a lot of movement every year until we sort of have salary stability. And that's probably going to take a salary cap of around $750 to $1 million. So we're a couple of years away from that. But especially when some of the teams are practicing full time. So if you've got, a roster of 35 and you need to be able to give your match fee players more money, in theory, if we're still going associate versus not, and if that's how you're choosing to go, you're going to spend your cap on players that are going to practice full time and not hold another job. Players are going to move all over the place. Certain players, like some of the guys in New York that work in finance, they probably won't play at all if they have to move. And that's just professionalism.
Interesting.
That is what we are going to deal with.
Well, and I think a lot of that will be sorted out in the future. As like you say, as the caps grow and as the professionalism levels rise. So, all right,
we're already seeing what kind of money is going to come into the teams. You have major sponsorships with Aviva sponsoring the Sabercats, Lados, which is sponsoring DCMLR. So, and DCMLR and Lados is an even bigger company than Aviva, so things to think about. Honda Canada is sponsoring the Arrows. So you have major companies throwing down money now. I think as these go further along, the types of jersey sponsorships you're going to get out there are going to get bigger. I'm sure the New England Free Jacks are going to land an even bigger company than Lados and Atlanta MLR. It's just going to build and build. And
it's probably going to be something alcohol related. Come on, Guinness.
Sam Adams. Boston let's just, instead of Sam Adams, since the company is Boston Brewing, put Boston Brewing on the front.
Boston Brewers.
But yeah, none of these moves are being dictated by the league. It's just players are going where they're getting the most money, and some guys fit and some guys don't. That's why, a player leaves and all of a sudden Glendale's able to sign Henko. And, well, Henko left, so Austin's able to sign Sebastian Kalm, who wanted more money. And that's just the way it's going to go. So Houston had a lock leave, and they had space, and they were able to get a deal done with Victor Comtois, who probably wanted more money from Austin. And, all these things are just building, like, however you're able to package each deal, so that, because these are all really separate, especially the guys who get jobs or working as like development officers or academy coaches or player coaches. Everything's done on a case-by-case basis until we get a period of salary stabilization, which I think we're going to be a few years from, but we're a lot closer than a lot of people probably think, because at some point the players will organize and they will have a union and there will be a CBA, and that's just the way it's going to go.
Yeah, no, hopefully it's a natural process that, works to the benefit of everybody. Obviously, we've seen with the NFL that having, as well as other professional leagues, that having a strong union is important. We've seen with the NBA what a strong union can be for players, and we've seen with the NFL what a not so strongish union can be. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that works out going forward in terms of how salaries are negotiated.
You want a not so strong union? The NHL. When in the modern game, when you have two lockouts that basically shove your sport onto the nether regions of television so that people don't watch your game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, what are you getting from a year-long lockout? I like hockey, but the hockey players, I think, have overplayed some hands in 2-year-long lockouts in the last decade. So that's just my opinion.
So we'll address that further on our hockey podcast later this week.
Yeah, EOD211 next year, by the way. Come on, let's do it.
We haven't introduced any new podcasts for a while, so I thought we had to throw that one out there. All right. Well, we always like to take questions from Bob as often as possible, and these are questions collected from over on Reddit. We host a Reddit page that's reddit.com/r/mlrugby, and you can join the conversation over there anytime. So the first question right off the top this week is from Dystopian Rugby. Wants to know San Diego's roster?
It's out now.
We've addressed that, so that's good.
Yeah, Aaron was kind enough to put up that roster on the Reddit page just today, actually. So you can go there and find it now.
In a usable format.
Yeah. Or you can just rewind a few minutes and listen to him read them off again. All right, moving on. Kama Killer 95. How does MLR grow their brand awareness? Are there things us fans can do beyond word-of-mouth marketing?
First and foremost, you definitely just want to keep on sharing items on social media so that the algorithms for those certain platforms, start to favor MLR content. But also during the season, go to bars and request that the game be put on the TV. I did it several times last season, and it's definitely something that works. Watch the game, at people's houses. Ask your friends if they want to come over and watch it with you. Word of mouth is definitely really good, but trying to get it on the screen at public spaces is definitely the very first step that you can do. Social media is the easiest thing you can do, so definitely do that.
Everyone goes to bars and stuff, so whatever local bar you have, I know they have CBS Sports, so when the game is on, talk to the bartender, get the game put on, and people will just peek up and go, "What's that sport?" And they'll watch, and there will probably be some other rugby fan in the bar, and that's how it goes.
I think another thing you can do to really build brand awareness is to listen to Earful of Dirt every week, and tell your friends about this great podcast talking about the league. So,
yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe on every single podcast provider, and listen to it 5 times.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, if you want to just send us money for no reason, we'll take that too.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll post a Venmo.
All right. Our question section namesake, Bob B. Boberson, wants to know, how will the travel schedule impact Rooney?
Well,
I guess because they have all the long trips at the beginning, I think, right?
Yeah, so their first 5 weeks, it's at San Diego, then it's a bye, then it's a bye, then it's at NOLA, at Seattle. So they have 3 pretty far road games, and then 2 bye weeks within those first 5 weeks. And that's kind of equal to Toronto, playing those first 5 weeks on the road for them as well. So yeah, the cold weather makes it difficult. The distance makes it difficult. Both on the players and on the team's budget. So, but I don't think it's going to affect them as much as people think it will.
I think the travel portion probably less. But now that I'm rethinking about this, I think having all those buys front loaded just stops them from being able to get a rhythm. I like Toronto. That kind of sucks. First 8 games are all the way.
Fuck that.
So both New York and Rooney need to Toronto and New York can't really drop a lot of games on the front end because the money is going to be made during the ARC when Les Rouges and the Eagles are away. So when those players are not in camp for their MLR teams, whoever wins those there's 6 weeks of MLR team play when there are ARC games, but they're also in camp, so that's 8 weeks. So basically for 8 weeks of the season, the Eagles and Les Rouges are away. So if you end up, I think the most a team has, I think, is 7 games during that period. If you can win 4 of 7 while your Eagles are away, you're decent. If you drop a lot of games, it's going to be tough.
No, for sure.
So, Gotham wants to know, is Paul Mullen out of his contract in Newcastle and coming back to MLR?
So, his contract with Newcastle is over. He's in Ireland. I got nothing else.
Yep, I have no further information on this subject.
All right. So that's a big, I guess we'll wait and see. Mm-hmm. We'd love to have him back here, though. I guess nobody would argue with that.
Hey, his contract announcement will probably happen on the Eagles ARC squad announcement, because that happens all the time.
There you go. Okay, final question for tonight comes from the Hey Dog 18. Which MLR team has the easiest draw overall this season?
So Liam has a different opinion than I do.
Well, I just noted how NOLA is starting, their first 5 at least at home. So, and they have a pretty good weather, climate. Hopefully the field condition at Archbishop Shaw High School is a little bit better than it was last year, because last year any player who played there said it was total shit. But yeah, I think NOLA has a pretty good chance to start this season out on a good foot compared to what they got.
It's Toronto has 8 games in a row. They're the only team with 8 games in a row. Yes, it happens to be on the back end of the season. That's rough.
I guess, yeah, it is yet to be seen. So we're looking forward to it. What is the start date for the season again? Is it
January 26th?
January 26th. So we are 5 weeks out, basically.
Right before the Super Bowl.
Got a lot to figure out between then and now. All right. Well, I suppose that about wraps it up for us tonight. You guys have any final thoughts on your way out?
Liam, you burned the house down.
What else did you expect? What did you hear? Who told you what?
So the Pacific Nations Cup schedule is out. We do get to host a match. Apparently, it's not in Japan, which is kind of cool. It is in Fiji. So the boys, the last time they hung out like in a tropical-ish area was in Montevideo at the Hojo that was on a lake, and they ate like steak every night. They beat the crap out of Uruguay. So I think this is going to work out just fine. We host Canada in the Can-Am Cup, or it's not really a cup. It's the Can-Am Trophy match as part of the PNC in Glendale. I think it's 27th of July. And then we play Japan and Samoa in Fiji over 2 weeks. So that will be pretty cool. And I think, what are you talking about? When do you guys want to come back for a break? I think 14th. Does that work?
Yeah. Definitely before the season starts, so we can give a little preview. Definitely don't want to leave these fine people waiting.
I think we went for 3 weeks last year. I think we'll do 3 weeks this year, but like we did last year in the beginning, we will have some content rolling out. I got Malcolm May tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully Kyle Bailey on Thursday. So Corey will push those out on podcasts after, well, not this week, but over the next couple of weeks, those will come out.
And they'll actually come out this time, unlike the last one that was 3 weeks late. So, fantastic, guys. Liam, you got any thoughts on your way home tonight?
No, pretty much. I'm just going to spend the holidays here in Boston before heading out to Houston again, January 3rd, to get ready for the season down there with the Houston SaberCats as well as the West Houston Lions. Going to be having some fun covering those teams. But for now, I'm just going to be enjoying myself one last time up here in New England.
Well, and we're pretty fortunate now to have members of our extended family located in 3 MLR cities between Dan and Victor in New York, Liam in Houston, and Josh in Denver. So we've got some this is going to be an exciting season, guys. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Like Aaron says, we'll have some interviews and a whole bunch of fun stuff coming into the new year. So be sure to stay tuned. With that said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. We will be off for the next 3 Mondays, coming back January 14th. So be sure to join us then. But please, as always, check us out on YouTube, where we do this live Monday nights, and we have the podcasted version available for download every Wednesday morning. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our YouTube and iTunes feeds. It helps us helps other folks find us. And be sure to share your own news, views, and abuse with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, guys, last chance or forever hold your peace for 3 weeks.
I'm good.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you all next time. Happy Christmas.